Okay, this is the demo for 9/10/08, Wednesday. We're learning adjective endings as well as ein word endings. So the first thing we did is give you a bunch of samples here that we're going to be working with. And you also want to have open your tabella. Some of you have hard copies of that. I'll give them to 5th period when I get them laminated. But the tabella is just a chart that shows you which endings you would use. Once you figure out, which we're going to learn today, once you figure out what role something plays in the sentence, like is it the subject over here, is it the subject, then you would use the nominative. If it were the direct object, so that's why I circled nominative here, this row right here. Any of these endings in here are nominative endings. If it were the direct object in the sentence, then we'll be using the accusative case like this. And then if it's the indirect object, we would use the endings in this row on the chart. That will mean more to you in just a minute as we go through this. So we're going to go back to what we just converted to PDF. This is in the common folder under Kapitel 1, and it's called Endungen 2, endings 2, like this. We're learning how to put endings on, and we'll be using this chart for reference. So there are 4 steps, and we're going to write them down, to finding parts of speech. We're going to go ahead and type them. First one. Type a 1, and I'll zoom into this so you can see it better. But you type a 1, and we're going to say the first thing you'll look for when you look for parts of speech in a sentence is you're going to look for the action word. Find the action word, and that will equal the verb. Okay, that's 1. Find the action word, and that will equal the verb. It's your first part of speech. And I know if you're in Adobe Acrobat here, if you want to, if it's not turned on, these little lines and squares, you can just go under View and make sure under Toolbars that your comment and markup is clicked or checked there. That means that that will give you these here in your program. So find the action word, that's the verb. The second part of speech that you want to find is you want to first ask yourself, you're going to ask, who is doing that action? And that equals the subject. So far, we'll know what the verb is and what the subject is. So we got the verb, and we'll be able to point out what the subject is. Okay. So 3, the third thing that we'll look for is the direct object, and here's how. We say subject plus the verb, now that we've found them both, and that equals the direct object. So subject plus verb equals the direct object. And we only have one more part of speech. It's only a task of 4 parts, okay, to find parts of speech. First thing we do is find the verb. Then we say who's doing that action, that gives us the subject. And then we say the subject plus the verb that we've already found, and we ask, oh, I missed a part, you guys, subject plus verb, and then we need to ask plus whom or what. And that equals our direct object. We need to have the whom or what in there, the subject plus verb for whom or what. And that equals, once again, the direct object. And the last part of speech that we're going to find, after I get rid of this box here, this red one, let's see if I can. I'm just going to underline that. Okay, so we've got our verb. Let's see if I can do it up here and move it. Okay. Okay, we have our verb that we found, we have our subject, and our direct object. The last one, 4, is to find an indirect object. Here's the difference. If you say subject plus verb and you ask whom or what, you get the direct object. The difference between 3, the direct object, and what we're going to learn now, the indirect object, is that you ask to or for whom or what. And that equals your indirect object. Okay. So those are the 4 parts of speech. And we'll be practicing with these. Our whole hour today is practicing with these. So you'll be saving this in your homework folder when we're done, and I'll go in and peek. Okay. First section. Want to follow those things that we just wrote down, and we're going to use that first sentence, and we're going to find first the verb. Number 1 is find the verb. What's the verb in that sentence? Bringt. So underline it and put a V using your typer. Put a V under it for verb. How do we find the next thing, the subject? You say, who's doing that action? And in that sentence, who's doing that action? Anybody? The Bruder, yeah. So he's the subject, so underline him. But actually, guys, when you do this, underline what comes before him describing him as well, like mein Bruder, or it could have been an adjective like my nice brother or whatever it is. So you can underline whatever comes in front of it, like the ein word. That's all part of it. It all gets treated as whatever role in the sentence it is. Like, is it the subject? Is it whatever? In this case, it's a subject. So go ahead and put an S by that if you can fit it in. Sometimes it's a trick on these. So I'm just going to put mine to the side here with my typer. Okay, so we'll put an S. That's a subject. So the third thing says, say the subject plus verb plus whom or what. And that's going to give you the direct object. My brother brings whom or what. What's he bringing here? The dog. So we'll underline that, and that's going to be our direct object. So underline the mein as well, because that's part of it. And that is the DO, direct object. You can just write DO. Okay, now in this next section, follow closely, because this will be our intro to these endings. We're going to have more practice through the year. If you don't get it this round, don't worry. I want you to try. But if you're confused at the end of this today, I want you to tell me, because I need feedback, and I've got other ways that I can share this. Okay? So here we have this. We've got these parts of speech. We have a subject, a verb, a direct object, and we're going to go put our endings in. So the first thing we have to know about all of these, I'm going to go down all the list here that we're going through first, because we need to know what's der, die, or das. So Bruder, is he der, die, or das? To say the in front of Bruder, it's der. Type it in right above there. Okay, how about Hund? Der, type it in right there, because you're going to need this. So type it in so you know it for reference in a minute. It won't make sense unless you know whether the items are der, die, das. We're going to go through the other sentences that we're not on yet, just to make sure you've got the der, die, das. So Mutter, die. Haus, das. Schwester, die. Bär means bear. Bär, der. Katze, die. Katja, ist Bär der oder das? Was? Bär. Bär. Ich glaube, das ist der Bär, aber ist es der? Danke. Okay. So, Katze ist die. Und dann Ratte ist der Rat, und das ist auch die Ratte. Schwester ist die. Und Jacke ist auch die. Okay? Did everyone get all those, or do you need me to back up there so you can see? Any that you weren't sure of? Okay. Good. You're getting really good with that typer, you guys. Okay. So we're going to now put these endings in. So how do we do it? We need to go to that. First, we need to know that Brudas dea, and it's a subject in that sentence. So right here, Brudas dea, and it's a subject in this sentence right here. So we're going to go to that chart, and we're going to say, okay, which endings do we use here? So we go to the subject, which is this row right here at the top. I need to print this to PDF so I can use it. Let me do that real quick. Print to PDF. I want to write on it. So PDF, okay. And just put it. Okay, so now I can write on it. So we want to be able to use this row now. We'll go back to our, is this us? I've got another one here going on, don't I? There we go. Endingen 2. This is us. Okay, so it is Bruda, der Bruder, and it's an ein word. So we go back to the Tabelle. It's der. We go to der in the subject. What happens on this ein word? Well, all of these ein words here, remember if you look up at the screen here, down at the bottom we've got all these words with the big red dot. They all fit in that same category. We've been singing mein, dein, sein, ihr, unser, euer, ihr. Those are all possessive adjectives. Except kein. Kein means none or not any. And so all of these ein word endings, they take the same endings as any of the red words up here. Once you figure out which box it's in, is it the subject or the direct object, and then you figure out is it der, die, das, and you get the right box, then it'll take the same endings. So we now have der, something that's der, and it is the subject. So we go to the der box, and we know it's a subject, so we go to this row right here, the nominative, and we know that the ending on ein here is nothing, so we wouldn't put anything on it. So let's go back to it, and we will say mine without an ending. Get your typer, type right in there, nothing. Okay, mein Bruder bringt, he's bringing my dog home. The dog is the direct object, and it's der Hund. So we go back to the Tabelle, and we say, okay, this row right down here is direct object, and we have to go to the der box. So this, we come down from der, and we get right in here. This is the der box right here. See if I can draw inside of it. Won't let me. Let me delete that. Try again. This is the der box right here. It's right here. Okay, so we know that the ein word ending on that is en. So we can come down back to that, and we can say bringt, and now we get our typer, say meinen Hund nach Hause. Mein Bruder bringt meinen Hund nach Hause. Those are our correct endings for that. Nothing in the first one, and en here. So hang in there with me, and we're going to try a bunch of these. I'm going to try 2 or 3 as a class, and then I'm going to let you try on your own for a little bit and see how you do, and we'll check them. You with me? Nods so I can see you're here? Okay, here we go. First off, Mutas die. We have to figure out roles in the sentence first. What role do different nouns here play? So the first thing, go for the verb. Number 1, find the verb. What's the verb? Lauter. Kauft. Sorry, I can't hear as well with these on. You guys be really loud. Okay, kauft is the verb. Wer? Who's doing the buying? The Mutti. Okay, see if I can turn them here. Okay, so the Mutti's doing the buying, so she would be the subject. So we're going to put an S right next to the Mutti. So now we're going to say the subject plus verb, and we're going to ask whom or what, and it will give us the direct object. So we say the mom's buying whom or what? The house. So the house is the direct object. Get our typer. We're going to write direct object here. Okay, so now we know now that Mutas die, and it's a subject of the sentence, so we can go right to our chart, our Tabelle, and we can go here and say She's the subject and she's D. So we can go here to the D box and say she's the subject. So we're going to go by the ein word ending and we're going to add what to that? An E. So let's go back there. And we're going to say unsere Mutter kauft. And now we have something new. Not only will we have an ein word in this sentence, but we have two adjectives. Schön means beautiful and neu means new. So we have two adjectives, and we need to know how to put adjective endings on as well. So here's what we do. We find out first, we see it's das Haus, it's das, and also it's the direct object. So as we go to this tabella, we are going to look for the das and direct object. So here we go. We go down here and we say, okay, here's the das box in the direct object row. So here it's the box. What's on the ein word? Nothing, right? There's no ending on that. Now here's the next thing though that's new right now. The next thing is, if you use an ein word in front of an adjective, for this box you'll put an es on it. If the word had been the in front of it, instead you would put an e for your adjective. But here we're learning it's an ein word, and whatever follows a das word in the direct object in this box for an ein word will have an es. So let's go there, and here's what you need to know. We're going to say ein didn't have an ending on it, so we go to our typer and we type ein and we put a few blanks. Now we have two adjectives, and we saw in that box they should be es. The tip you want to know is that when you have a couple adjectives after the ein word, you give them the same ending. So we're going to put es, ein schönes, and then another time, neues. Here's the new tip, the new point, that you could have 10, you could have 100 adjectives after that, and you would give them all the same ending. You get that? Yeah? Okay. The nods help you guys. Okay, so we would say unsere Mutter kauft ein schönes neues Haus. I'm going to let you try the next one, and I'll pause this. Let's try the next one so that we can check. That's the end of the demo for 9-10-08.